with food. Let's talk about the emotions around food, because I feel like that's really where the parallel is with money.
Yes. So the thing that I find people, a lot of women, we eat emotionally. But the problem that I find is, as feminine beings, I don't know if you knew this, but it's our nature from the times in the caves. We want to gather. And it's our feminine energy. We can't feel empty. Like, we don't like feeling empty. That's why we have purses, want to fill stuff, want to buy stuff. Like, we're gatherers, you know? And so food, a lot of times for women, is like to fill the void. So like, if we're emotionally feeling tired, drained, empty, we want food. And then we have, if we have different emotions, if we're happy, we celebrate with food. If we're sad, we eat food. And it's like, are we even hungry? And there's a joke like, well, no, nobody eats because they're hungry. But it's the same with money, right? Like, people go and they spend money because they feel empty and alone, and they need this energy boost because they want to feel better.
Hey there, and welcome to Money and You. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. My search for more fulfilling work led me to career and business coaching, where I stumbled upon a game-changing discovery. Money issues often start with our mindset and habits. You see, our relationship with money is the key to overcoming those frustrating financial obstacles. As an entrepreneur, coach, and problem solver, I'm passionate about helping you create a great relationship with money. Because, turns out, that's the foundation for a limit-free life. Each week on Money and You, I speak with amazing guests about all things money, mindset, practical tips, and everything in between. We're here to give you new insights, education, and empowerment so money can be one of your favorite relationships. So join us for some lively conversations, and let's transform your financial life together. Hello, hello, and welcome to a fantastic episode of the Money and You Show. I am so excited today. I have a wonderful guest in studio, and so that's exciting in itself that I'm sitting next to someone. But you are going to love this guest. Alina Z is, I'm just going to tell you right now who she is. Alina is an award-winning board-certified health coach, Deepak Chopra certified life coach, speaker, detox specialist, chef, and creator of the #1 best diet in America, as selected by Harper's Bazaar magazine. With 14 years of experience in health and wellness and 25 years in marketing and communications, she's confident in herself, wakes up feeling happy most days, freely eats lots of butter on her toast without any guilt, and teaches women how to have it all: radiant health, a fulfilling career, and a life full of sparkle. So welcome, Alina.
Thank you for having me.
I am really, really excited about having you here today. We met at a networking event, and we were talking, and I was talking about your relationship with money, and you were talking about people's relationship with food, and we just connected on that because they are so aligned, and they just follow the same pathways. And in my mind, I was thinking, women people in general have a tough time understanding what is a relationship with money. Like, what are you talking about? And so I've spent a lot of my time trying to help find easy ways to understand that. But I think women in particular do understand the nuances of your relationship with food. And so I thought it would be so great to have you here. And, your way of explaining all of this can be so easily related to money. So we'll have so much fun talking about this.
Yes.
So I'd love, now Alina has some of her own history around money that I just now learned about. So I'm actually going to, if you would, just kind of, if you'll start with your story, which is really fascinating from a money mindset standpoint.
Sure. I definitely have a different story because I was born in a regular family, just, average. And then my parents started creating businesses in Russia, all legally, all helping people to get the economy going. And by the time I was 11, we were so wealthy that my parents had to get me bodyguard and a chauffeur. And by 1995, we were the third richest family in Russia with a value of assets of $150 million.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
But as I can tell you firsthand, money does not buy you happiness. And going on a date with your bodyguard in tow is not that fun. So when I was 15, I said, I can't just live here anymore because because it wasn't safe and it wasn't fun. And I left. I came to America to attend a Quaker high school, which was very different. Quakers.
Where was that?
In Maryland.
Okay.
It's a Sandy Spring Friends School, which I love because they teach you we're all one. We're all the same. We called teachers by their first names. It was just a very humbling experience coming from somebody who had people like, waiting on you hand and foot.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anybody that we were wealthy. Then I just said, I'm a regular student from Russia. And then they were like, do you know how to do laundry? I'm like, laundry? What is that? I do not know any of this. And then in 1998, we lost everything. And my mom came here the following year after me. And we had to go get jobs, and I worked for $4.25 an hour at a library. She worked for $6.25 in Michael's Arts and Crafts, doing floral arrangements, learning English, with my grandmother with Alzheimer's next to her. And we were happy, we were still happy. We had a family. We were together. We were shopping, cheap food at a warehouse, Shoppers Warehouse. But it was still, we were having a good time. We were free.
Yeah.
And I remember living in that gilded cage, and people like, oh my God, you had so much money. But so what? So what? You had bodyguards.
Yeah.
Traveling was fun. That was fun. Doing a lot of really cool things. Like my father once bought a spaceship, the first commercial spaceship, and we sent it from Russia to America in 1992.
Wow.
And the capsule that we sent with all the gifts is in the museum at the Air and Space Museum. So it was a really cool experience. But money is just... It's not that if it doesn't bring you happiness and joy, because I feel like we crave money because of what it can do for us, so we can be happy, so we can be joyful. And then, I started working, my mom started working, I went to college, got scholarships, and then my mom worked hard, I worked hard, and I got a really good job, and we just kept, plugging away. My mom was able to find one business that wasn't stolen from her and was able to bring it back. And I got my grad degree and then followed my passions and got my clients and just like living the American dream with the experience that the end goal is not to make a lot of money. The end goal was always to be happy, and you can create your happiness here now. Yeah. And that's what's the most important thing, because once you're happy, you can make money. Once you're happy, you can do all the things you want to do.
Yeah, that is so important. It's actually, I was actually just listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza this morning. I'm actually going to his event this weekend.
Amazing.
I know, I've read his books, and I'm finally going to see him live. But that's exactly what he was saying. You've got to, instead of waiting for the external things to happen so that you can then be happy, you need to be happy now, and the things will happen. So it's hard to do. It takes a little practice, but it's doable.
It's absolutely doable. And I went to Joe Dispenza's seminar for a week in 2019.
Oh, wow.
So I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
And, I tell people that it is sometimes challenging. But so start small and create your own little miracle. And then you will see that it is, everybody says the same thing. Some people say it because they read it somewhere. Some people say it because they experienced it. But it's still the truth. Yeah. It's still the truth.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know how you get people to believe it until you start practicing it. And then you start seeing, that you're happy. You can be happy in actually some pretty difficult circumstances.
I have a really cool story that I love sharing because not many people have this experience. But I had a flood in my apartment building, and 3 floors of the building got flooded, about 30 apartments. Oh. And at first I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to calm down. It is what it is. I remember that uncertainty is where feminine energy thrives. So I was walking down the hallway. I hate uncertainty. I love uncertainty. I hate uncertainty. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to relax. I'm going to trust that all is well. It's all great. Everything's great. Yeah. And I was nice. And I had positive attitude. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I was like, you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. I ended up getting so much money from that flood.
Oh, wow.
I ended up winning, not just with money, but also my dog ended up passing at a perfect time. I didn't even know he was sick. When I moved to a new apartment, have I not had that flood, my dog would have passed in the old apartment, and I would have been devastated coming home every day thinking about him. But he passed the day after we moved in to the new place. And
Wow.
now I was busy unpacking, I was busy decorating, I was not having any memories with him. And the cool thing about this, that I look at it as a blessing, because I ended up taking time off work because I got money from the flood insurance. So I talked to somebody who observed everybody who was affected by the same flood.
Okay.
People with positive attitude ended up on top. People with negative ended up losing with the same exact circumstance.
Yeah.
So you have to be happy. Now, I didn't do it for the purpose of
Right.
something in the future. I was like, it is what it is. I'm going to make the best out of what is. If it's crap, if it's shit, it's going to be my fertilizer.
Yeah.
And that's how we blossom.
Yeah.
But you have to have this positive energy in you. Because if you continue dwelling and cursing everything that's happened to you,
Right.
you're not going to end up on top.
Right. And it's not about like, you know, shutting down your feelings. I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, you can feel upset about it, but it's sort of I mean, you are in control of your reactions. So if you need to be upset, be upset. If you need to cry, cry. But you move on from that, right?
100%. And, you know, I cried. I was walking around my apartment. I was like, I hate that Snoop died. His name was Snoop Dogg. I'm angry that Snoop died. I'm angry. I was crying. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be grateful for my anger. I'm grateful for my anger. I'm grateful for my anger. Why am I grateful for my anger? It means that I loved so deeply. I'm grateful that I loved so deeply.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful I had such an amazing love of this dog for 15 years. And I was like, wow, I'm grateful I have such an open heart. And then from the anger and the tears, I came out with, I have this amazing heart that's willing to love so deeply.
Yeah.
But you, of course, you have to process the feelings. I'm not a Pollyanna. Like I said, I was walking around saying, I hate uncertainty.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love uncertainty. You have to feel the feelings and then bring yourself up with the bootstraps.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, what if you don't do that? What? I mean, there's sort of no choice. But, there, you know, positivity isn't, I got upset when all the toxic positivity talk started.
Absolutely.
Because I live the same way. Like, I have to find a positive angle on things. Doesn't mean I don't get upset or angry. I mean, I can get pretty angry. I can get pretty sad. But overall, I can find a positive outlook on things. And I think you have to. And a grateful outlook, which anytime you're grateful, you're almost immediately positive again. You know,
I read a really great quote this weekend that was like huge aha moment. It said the reason why you don't have what you want in your life is because you live in a conflict with what is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, like you said, you have to process and get upset, but then don't resist being upset. Like allow yourself to feel the feelings, but then also you have to come to the place where it is what it is. And if God created it, there's a reason for it, and who am I to tell God how to create?
Right. And, you know, I like the saying, what you resist persists.
Yes.
It just sticks around because you're in that resistance. You're focused on it. What you focus on, you know, is what you are going to attract. So I think this is all a super interesting lead-in into money, because money is just one of those things. You know, first of all, people don't know they're in relationship with it.
Yes.
It's this thing out there. It's one of those external things that people are waiting for it to suddenly show up, or something to happen to make it all right. And it's the same as what we're talking about. I mean, you need to step into being that person who is, you know, it's not really about how much money in the bank, but it can be. But again, it's about what money can do for you. So if you see yourself owning the house, or, you know, living the life and the travel, then that's a step toward a mindset that will help you to manifest more money.
Absolutely. I think there's no way that being negative has ever helped anybody. There is this movie, and somebody was getting a really bad, it was with Tom Hanks, and they were telling them that he was going to be killed, and he's like, okay. And Tom Hanks is like, aren't you worried? And the guy goes, why? Will it help?
That's so good.
I was like, oh my God, like I don't think I can have that attitude quite like that. But worrying and being miserable and having negative attitude is just going to drain you here and now. And I believe in powerful thinking, not positive thinking, because
That's great.
positive thinking, I don't know if it's going to happen in the future. Trust that it will, but what if it doesn't? But powerful is, I don't know what's going to happen, but it makes me feel good and powerful here and now, thinking positively. Even if it's negative, at least I feel good right now.
Right.
And if it's
Right.
great later, great.
Yeah. And that feel good is really what, you have to be in that higher vibration
Yes.
and feeling good to have good things happen in your life.
Absolutely.
I truly believe that, because you're right. If you're negative or sad or angry or whatever, you're sort of staying in that place. And it doesn't attract in the other things, and everything's so related. That's why I loved having you,
Yes.
because the food, the money, everything, and there's this ripple effect. So people think, well, I'll get healthy after I make enough money, and I'm not working so hard because I have to work really hard to make all this money, and then I can focus on exercise or diet, and that doesn't work either. Like the nutrition and taking care of yourself and feeling good is also what will lead to making more money.
Yes, absolutely, because you cannot make a good decision. What was it? It was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, he who has not dined well cannot think well.
Oof, that's good.
And if you think of Thanksgiving dinner, if you eat a lot of heavy meat and potatoes and then you dessert, are you going to be thinking well? You're going to be wanting to nap.
Right.
You think differently. Food, well, the reason why I love food as entry to relationships is because food becomes your tissue, becomes your blood, becomes your organs, becomes your thoughts. Your thoughts becomes your actions, and your actions become your results in life. And so how you eat will affect how you make money.
Yeah.
It's money and food are energy, and food gives you energy to make money. Money can give you energy to create. It's all flowing.
It is all flowing, and you work on one, it will sort of flow into the next,
Exactly.
and be an assist. So it's never this time is a factor. But although lately I've been learning so much, it seems like everybody's talking about how much time we waste on social media in particular, and how you can have 5 weeks back, at the end of your year. So I'm really thinking about that time thing. Every time we say, "Oh, I'm too busy," it's like, really, how much time did I spend today doing things that don't matter?
So true.
But let's talk about your relationship with food. Let's talk about the emotions around food, because I feel like that's really where the parallel is with money.
Yes. So the thing that I find people, a lot of women, we eat emotionally. But the problem that I find is, as feminine beings, I don't know if you knew this, but it's our nature from the times in the caves. We want to gather. And it's our feminine energy. We can't feel empty. We don't like feeling empty. That's why we have purses, want to fill stuff, want to buy stuff. We're gatherers, know? And so food, a lot of times for women, is to fill the void. So if we're emotionally feeling tired, drained, empty, we want food. And then we have, if we have different emotions, if we're happy, we celebrate with food.
Yeah.
If we're sad, we eat food. And it's are we even hungry? And there's a joke well, no, nobody eats because they're hungry. But it's the same with money, right? People go and they spend money because they feel empty and alone, and they need this energy boost because they want to feel better. And with food, you can't really hide it as well unless you have a eating disorder, because a lot of women, you can see the emotional challenges that they're facing, the pain in the way they look in their bodies and how they move. Because a lot of times people can hide their financial problems and nobody knows, because person looks good, but you don't know what's really happening, how much in debt they are.
Yeah.
But when I tell women about food and money, also I tell them, if it's your body, think of it as a closet. A lot of times women go and shop and they stuff things in their closet, and when they don't have enough room, they'll go buy storage facility. You cannot buy another body facility. People eat and keep eating and their bodies expand, but they're just trying to fill the void. But you can never fill an emotional void with a physical food. Money is also physical. It buys you physical things.
Right.
And physical things only give you a little bit of this endorphins, this boost to serotonin, dopamine. You're like, oh, I'm happy now for 5 minutes. And then it's the next thing.
Yeah.
Because our ego, our brain is always like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I need more. And with food, it's exactly the same thing. We try to eat more, but you know when to stop sometimes. And with money, you're like, it's a credit card. There's no credit card for food.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you don't know when to stop with either, you know, and until you're in some kind of pain. So you've either maxed out your credit card or you have a giant stomach ache or whatever. But it's really interesting. I had a financial therapist on the show a while ago, and she had been actually a regular therapist treating mostly women with eating disorders. And she actually saw how much of a parallel there was too. And she said people would go from binge eating to binge spending, you know, and it was like they'd fix the binge eating issue, but then they would just replace it with a lot of extra spending.
Yeah.
So it is. And, you know, it's because the root of it all is emotional. I don't know.
It's the void. I think
void.
it's, you know what, I love this quote by Mark Twain, who said, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why.
Oof.
And a lot of people don't know why, and they keep searching. And we live in this world of comparison. You go on Instagram and you see somebody's outside. You don't know what's going on inside, but you see their outside. And you compare their outside with your inside. And you're like, oh my God, but I'm depressed. And look at that person. They're so happy on this video. Something must be wrong with me. And look at her shoes. Maybe it's the shoes, you know? And I do it too. I mean, I'm human. I compare myself. But then I know enough about my purpose that I'm like, okay, am I living on purpose? Am I living my truth? Am I fulfilling my needs? That, like, why am I here? And then if the answers are yes, I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to compare them, because those people might be doing these videos, but it's not, might not be their calling. It's just what they're good at, and they make a lot of money.
Right.
Because I used to do that when I had my job in DC. I was on every single magazine. People knew how to spell my last name fully, like all the photographers. I was on TV a lot. I was, you know, having a blast, and outside it looked like I have a fantastic life. But inside I wasn't happy. And so I find that all of the money challenges, all of the food challenges always come from that void within us. And as women, we need to be fulfilled. For men, they also need to be fulfilled, but it's more like external. They go and they do things, and they have a testosterone, and like they go and hunt. But for women, it's like we need to gather. And we also, I feel like as women, we're not taught, maybe now we are, younger girls, like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? More so, but before it was like, okay, when you grow up, this is your role in society, a supporting role. And nobody asked you if you wanted to be a mother, if you wanted to be a wife, like that's what you do. You know, 100 years ago, that's what women did before they could even vote. Right? And so we don't have that experience where it's like, okay, well, here I am. Why am I here? Like nobody questions that. Why are you here? And people tell you, well, this is why. This is why. And then we feel empty. And so we go and shop and we go and eat.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we were talking a minute ago, but that's why I started my whole company at the beginning. I mean, I'm working in a corporate environment. Everybody's fine and happy to some degree and doing well and, you know, whatever. But mostly everybody's talking about, well, someday I'd like to do this, you know, and it's like, well, you know, when is someday exactly? So, and everybody seemed to be sitting, including myself, I would sit there at my job all day, just sort of daydreaming about other things I would rather be doing, you know. So I think intuitively we have a sense.
Yes.
We don't always listen to it. But
well, that's why we're here. That's why you're here, inspiring women, because by teaching them the relationship with money, you're teaching them the relationship with themselves. And when I talk to clients, I have this class that I do. Cravings are a gateway to your biggest dreams. And the way I explain it is that somebody comes to me, a client, and she said, I can't stop eating ice cream. Tell me, what can I do to replace ice cream? And I said, okay, well, great. So what do you think you're craving? She's like, well, definitely sugar. No, she said, I have sugar cravings. That's what she said, sugar cravings. I said, okay. A lot of times, by the way, sugar cravings are not sugar cravings. You think you're craving sugar, but unless you crave gummy bears, it's not a sugar craving.
Interesting.
If you're craving ice cream, for example, could be fat craving, could be dairy craving, could be cold craving, could be creamy craving, could be love craving, because dairy is the mother's love to her baby.
Wow.
So we started talking with this client. Okay, well, what is it? Is it the sugar? Do you want gummy bears? No. Okay, so we took that away. So when we realized it was the fat, she wanted fat because she was thinking a lot at work, and she needed more fat, and she was eating a low-fat diet for her brain.
Interesting.
Because brain is mostly fat. So, and she also liked creamy because she needed to soothe herself. So I gave her a substitution which she loves, and that's what she drinks, and she doesn't have a problem where she's like, oh my God, I have to have ice cream. She doesn't crave it. But what we also found is that she was craving to be loved. She was craving a relationship. And so what she was craving is to be with a man that she cared about, who cared about her. And so that became what we ultimately wanted to create for her. So that meant, getting a makeover, going online, becoming who she was meant to be. And then she met somebody that she's happy with. And, I was saying, I will charge you $10 every day if you don't swipe on Bumble. And I would text her, I'm like, did you swipe? So, but that was what she was actually craving. She wasn't craving the ice cream. Yeah. Her dream was to be in a relationship. And so cravings, I feel like, are that gateway to find out what you actually want.
That is really, really interesting, and I can definitely see the same pattern with money. If you're craving new shoes all the time, it could easily be a similar thing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so fascinating, though. So let's talk about the whole self-love thing, because I do feel, again, with women in particular, they don't necessarily start early wanting to learn about money. They want to take care of people. They want to have relationships that are great. They want to take care of their friends first, and they want to take care of their families. And there's a lot of later on, when I get time and I'm not taking care of everybody else, I'll figure this money thing out, and so it gets delayed. I have a lot of, people in their 40s and 50s coming and saying, I never learned about money. Now I feel like nervous about it. I don't know what I have and what I need. And so, yeah, what I feel like the self-love piece is just a big part of both areas.
Absolutely. And I wrote my book about food and self-love, and I really wanted to have it given to kids in school to learn how to love yourself, because nobody teaches you. They teach you to love your family, to don't be mean to your brother.
Which is kind of an automatic anyway. Like, you don't really need to learn that from something.
Yeah, but whoever tells you don't say mean things to yourself,
I know.
Who teaches you go to the bathroom and say, hi, honey, I love you. And if you look shitty, you go, oh, baby girl, what's going on? Are you tired? Do you need a nap? To yourself.
Yeah.
To yourself. And I remember looking in the mirror, and somebody said that this girl finds 5 things that she loves about herself, and I couldn't find one. I couldn't find one, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll think of something somebody else said that they like about me. So like, oh, eyelashes. Oh, I have nice eyelashes. And people say I have nice hair. So I started doing it that way. And then I teach people that even if you cannot find one thing you love about yourself physically, call your friend and ask them, what do you like about me? And I swear they won't say, oh, I love the shape of your thighs, and that's why I'm friends with you. Like, I can guarantee they won't say that. They'll say, oh, you're a great listener, you're a great heart. And you have to write it down, like literally write down all the things people say about you. And then find 5 things in your body that you're just grateful for their function. Like, I'm grateful for my feet because they walk. I'm grateful for my toes because they keep me balanced. I'm grateful for my hands because they help me eat, or whatever. And then you give gratitude to those things, the physical and non-physical.
Yeah.
And then you have to learn into liking them. And then you have to learn to love them, just for the very reason that some force, some energy made them. You didn't make them, and your mom didn't make them. Because when your mom, you were in her belly, she didn't sit there and be like, I'm going to make this nail. And then you did not make this body that was different than when you were 5, right? We have every year, we have a new model of the body. We don't make it. Some divine energy does. And that's where I love Joe Dispenza's work, because when we connect to that energy, we can create new cells, because every single moment we're creating new cells. And it's possible. I healed my own eyes in 3 days because I was talking to them. And I was saying, thank you so much. I love you so much. How are you guys doing? Like, I never thanked you. I never thanked you. And so our body is always listening. Every single cell is always listening. Like, if you don't trust me, like, think about somebody giving you a compliment, you'll start turning pink. Or if you are driving and somebody slams on the brakes in front of you, you're going to be like pins and needles. Your body is listening all the time.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility. We're given this body. We chose it, I believe, because, who knows, where were you 10 months before you were born? We don't know.
Yeah.
But we chose it. And being grateful, I think that's where it starts, the self-love. And then now, like, if I don't look good, I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, oh, sweetie pie, like, what's happening? Oh, you just look tired today. Do you need a nap? Do you need the green juice? Like, how are you doing, honey? What do you want? Like, I talk to myself because I have a relationship with myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I wrote the book about, because it took me a long time where I actually saw myself in the mirror and I was like, oh God, you look so ugly. And I couldn't breathe for like 30 minutes. My heart was hurting.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, looking now at those pictures, I'm like, oh, baby girl, you were just so like sensitive. And, and it's very important to even look back when you were a baby girl.
Right.
Because like somebody asked me, what's your value? I'm like, I'm alive, and they said, well, you are very aware, you've done so much work on yourself, not everybody has that worth. I'm like, no, you had that worth when you were 1 week old and there was no value to you whatsoever. You were pooping and peeing and crying and eating. There was like no value.
Yeah.
But you were still lovable, and you had chubby cheeks and you had chubby arms and legs, and you were still lovable.
Yeah.
It's always been in you. It's just you started to compare, like when you were 2, you weren't like, oh, that girl has a bigger stroller than I do. But somebody else taught you that later on.
Yeah. And, the older I get, which I'm getting kind of old, which I'm not minding because there's a lot of wisdom that comes with it. And you start looking back and you're just like, wow. Because when I look back and think about the things I told myself, about my body, about my brain, about everything, it's like, gosh, what was I doing? Like, I look back now and I'm like, it makes no sense. Yeah. And I've even been thinking, too, about, because I'm listening to a lot about how much time we're spending on social media and other things and what a waste it is. But I'm also thinking of the energy spent.
Yes.
Like, you were in the corporate world. I don't know if you remember, but I remember so much time complaining about, there'd be one horrible coworker that, was driving everybody crazy. And every lunch and every night you're talking about it at lunch, you're talking about it when you get home. And just so much energy that went into something that was just basically complaining and, feeling bad about something that so doesn't matter. I look back now and I can't even remember the person's name. I can sort of picture his face and why did I put so much energy into that?
I completely agree. And I wanted to share something with you that I thought when you were saying, I didn't want to interrupt you, but you were talking about earlier about you switching from corporate into helping people. And in 2009, I was listening to Wayne Dyer, late Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he was amazing. And he said he read a book when he was 18, which was a Russian book. We never heard about it in Russia, called The Death of Ivan Ilyich. And to summarize it, about a guy who always wanted to be a musician, but he was told he'll make more money if he becomes a lawyer, becomes a judge, and marries a rich girl, which he did. And as he's dying, his last words are, what if my whole life has been wrong?
Oof. Yeah.
And he always wanted to be a musician. And so Wayne Dyer wrote for himself, Dear Wayne, don't die with your music still in you. And I was 29, and I was like, you know what? I'm quitting my job. I'm going to do something that I'm passionate about. I like to talk about food. Back then, it was something I was interested in because I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to learn more about it. I'm like, I'm going to become a health coach just because that felt good. Yeah. And that I had so much to give and to help people because I knew other people were suffering and struggling with their health. And I quit, but it's a wake-up call because, there's also a good saying. I love sayings because it's something that you just remember, right? There's only 2 people you need to impress. The 6-year-old you and the 90-year-old you.
Oh, wow. That's good.
And it always reminds me, too, who do I want to be? When I was little, who would I have looked up at? And when I'm 90, will I go yeah, I lived. I actually lived.
That's a great question to be asking yourself at any age, I think. I use that a lot these days. Tony Robbins used to call it the rocking chair test or
Yes, the
something.
rocking chair test,
Yeah,
yes.
so just thinking, when and I feel like the more you go along in life, the clearer it becomes. When I was 20, I don't think I could have known what I would regret, in my rocking chair that I hadn't done. But now I'm getting a pretty good feel for it. And it's weird how clear it becomes and how much of a direction it gives your life and your days. So it's important.
Yeah. I'm working with this girl right now. She's 23, very young. And she came to me. She's like, I want to find my purpose. Aww. And I have this system where I can tell you what your purpose is. But I also don't want to just tell you what your purpose is. I want to play and have you try it on.
Yeah.
And so I have a 12-step process where you try on different archetypes, and then you see which one of those archetypes, like, oh, that's me. Like, you just feel it.
Right.
She asked me today, do you want me to write down what I thought about the experience every day? And I said, not as much what you thought, but what you felt, because it's a feeling when you're shopping. Even like you'll see something like, that's mine. Like, I'm not leaving the store without that. And the same thing with this. Like, that's my purpose. I'm not leaving this life without fulfilling that.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you have a process, because I do find it to be a very confusing thing for people without a process. It's just, you're like waiting for lightning to strike and suddenly, oh, there's my passion, there's my purpose. And it's very frustrating for people. A lot of people have come to me and said, I don't know what my passion is, and they've worked in very successfully for a long time. They've been focused on their job or their family, and they have no idea like what they're passionate about, what their purpose would be. And unless you have, I think, an outsider ask you questions and walk you through some exercises and things, I don't think it's easy to unpack it.
Oh God, no. It's like when you're stuck inside the box, you only see what's inside. You need somebody from the outside to help you out. Absolutely. Like, I couldn't do it without my coaches. Like, I went to Tony Robbins. I went to Wayne Dyer. I went to Eckhart Tolle's retreat for a week. Like, I've done so many retreats. Like, I've spent, I don't remember how much money calculated.
Oh yeah, I don't calculate.
I
don't want to know.
More than 6 figures. But it was my purpose to take everything from everybody, put it all together, create my own program, and make it digestible, pun intended, easy to understand, so that people can be happy. Because when we live on purpose, we have a happier world, and everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing, not because someone told them that's what they're supposed to be doing, but because it's the music in their heart.
Yeah. And I think there becomes this conflict with money, just like you were saying, so here's my purpose, here's what I want to do, I want to make music, but everybody else is telling me this, I'm not going to make a living and I'm going to be poor. And so that's a whole mindset shift too. And I mean, living in LA, we all know people who do every kind of art form who, we know some who don't make much money. We know a lot who do make a lot of money. So it isn't what you do. It's really kind of how you design and create around it, I think. And I feel like money is very similar in the sense that you have to be intentional. And where you need money, you can create money, just like you can create art. But you have to think about it. It's not, I think people expect it to just happen as a result of certain work.
Yeah.
What do you tell people when they say, I can't follow my purpose because I won't make any money?
I tell them, think about that plastic bottle of water.
Yeah.
That if you go to Costco, it's 50 cents. If you go to a restaurant, it's going to be $2. And if you go to a concert, it's going to be $5. It's going to be the same bottle.
Yeah.
But you can make money in anything. My favorite story that I just adore is about this guy, Zach, and he loved bread. And bread is flour and water and yeast, and it's a commodity. There's been bread companies after bread companies for hundreds of years. There's plenty of them on the market. And he was like, I love bread. I'm going to go to Europe and learn how to make it. So he created a bakery called Zach's Bakery in Miami. And because he knew that was his calling, just because he loved it, like he got crazy love, like just loved doing it. And he had so many people go in his bakery, there was a line out the door. And then he started making more, and he expanded, and he started selling at Whole Foods, and it was sell out in a day when he just started. But it's like, it's bread. How much more of a commodity can you get? And he made so much money. But money was not the goal. Money was, he was digging it. Like, he was so happy. He was geeking out on how to make bread. And that's what I find myself right now. I quit chefing for clients, which made me a lot of money.
Which you just did.
Which I just did.
Yeah.
And then I was, thinking like, well, how I'm going to get back to coaching, because I used to coach, but once you finish a client, they're done, because my goal is not to have that client for a long time.
Right.
My goal is to teach them, and they're on their own, and they know exactly what to do. And I have clients who follow me. They've been with me for like 12 years following me, but they don't pay me anymore.
Right.
They learned everything. And I was like, well, what am I starting out? And I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. I can always make money. There's ways to make money. I have a degree in marketing. I have a master's degree in public relations. Like, I'll figure it out.
Right.
But it's not the goal, because I already had $150 million. My parents wanted me to inherit, and I didn't want to do that, because the whole point was to be happy. And so I do what makes me happy, and teaching people, helping people, like seeing them, that's my purpose. How am I going to do it? Well, okay, let's go step by step. And it's also important that we have a lot of fears, too, on the way to our purpose, because we're like, whoa, I don't want to go there. Like, that's scary.
Yeah.
And, when I look at a client's charts, when I see what the purpose is.
Oh, yeah, I want to make sure we do the charts before we run out of time.
Let's do that. I can see if they're doing what they're on purpose or not, and you can see how much money they're making if they're on purpose or not.
Wow.
And I've looked at celebrities, and you can see those who are living, are happy, who are not happy. Like, are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they wealthy? And you can see it in the chart. If they are doing what they were supposed to do, they're succeeding. If they are too afraid to go where they wanted to go, then they're not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
interesting.
fascinating.
Yeah. So tell us a little about how we do this, the chart.
So I have a system. It's a mathematics, basically. I can look it up. Just easier, since we don't have much time to actually do the calculation by hand. But if you think of right now, we are here, and whoever's listening, they're somewhere else, and we can hear us, right? The vibration of the sound. And if I ask you, like, Michelle, do you believe in Wi-Fi? You'd be like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, how? Prove it. And you'll be like, well, it's here, but you need to know the password, and you need to know the exact network, right? So you need to have the code for that Wi-Fi. But it's here. Just because you don't see it, the proof is once you try on the password, it works. So the same here. There's a mathematical calculation. There's many, many numbers. I can show you what I'm looking at. And I don't know how it works, but it works 100%. I haven't been wrong about a person, and I've had twins. And by the way, twins, I had a twin. There's one archetype that can make a lot of money.
Wow.
You can tell, like, you can make a lot of money, or you can be very poor. It depends on your attitude. And I have twins who have that money aspect. One, her boyfriend won $1 million. Just like, not even putting whatever, like, he just did some bet and he made $1 million. Another one is living with her mom because she didn't make enough money. They have the same possibilities, but different attitude. One is like, everything's going to work out. This one has, this particular archetype has to trust that when you're on your lowest low, everything's going to work out when you relax and you trust, because when you're drowning, in order to survive, you have to relax and go up with the flow. If you keep struggling, you're going to float down. So the same here with this archetype. And one girl keeps struggling, goes down. Another one keeps relaxing, going up. So even with that, you can have twins with the same charts, because it is based on birthday code, and there's different formulas. But, you can try it for fun and then see if it works, and then you try it on, and you go from there.
All right, I'm going to try somebody I'm thinking of. Is that okay?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know this person, so you don't have to tell me their name. Just living or dead, and if they're happy in their life.
Living.
Okay.
Happy with a bit of anxiety.
Okay.
And 7/6/2000.
So it's
July.
July. Okay, so it's 6th of July.
Okay, wait. July 6th.
Yep, July 6th.
2000.
2000. Okay, so I can tell you a lot already. Oh my gosh. So, okay, so this person is often worried and comparing. Is it him or her?
Her.
Comparing herself to other people. How do I compare? July 6th, right? Yeah. How do I compare to other people? And thinking like somebody's cooler than me. And this person probably is thinking that this person is very multi-talented, by the way, can do anything. And I don't know what her childhood was like, but she probably had a really big personality, like sunshine, like really big and open. And maybe somebody in school or something said, like, you're too much. That's what I'm seeing here. And this person is supposed to be very magnetic, but also at the same time introverted, like thinking like, why am I here? Like, what's my purpose? And I see like there's a lot of brightness and light, but also, and by the way, this is what I'm looking at. So you can see, this is what I'm looking at. Just these numbers.
Oh, very,
it's just formulas, yeah.
Okay.
But also the questioning, like, why am I here? And thinking, what if I'm not ideal? Like, I'm not perfect. But this person is so multi-talented. And in order for this person to become who they're meant to be, because I see it's 2000, so pretty young, I will say that following any kind of intuitive, because this person is like looking inward, like, who am I? Why am I here? Like, introverted, but also very extroverted. So it's a balance. But this person is meant to go through 3 stages in their life. First, becoming like very like childlike energy, very open, and then going into like, take care of people and like taking care of people. But then meant to create something that helps women, but that transforms, something about transformation, like massive transformation, meant to be very magnetic, like can be very, very popular in anything she wants to do. Her default may be like overthinking things and analyzing, and she can make a lot of money if she doesn't compare herself, and most importantly, is not afraid of being poor.
Interesting.
Because if this person thinks, oh my God, what if I lose everything? What if I don't make money? Because the Achilles heel for this person is money. And if you doubt, it's the shadow side of that. If you doubt what we talked about, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like those twins that I tell you, then it's not going to be good. But if this person's like, you know what, everything's going to be fine, and sharing from the heart, giving money to friends and charities, like being this like open, very bright person who is really, really deep, very deep person, a very open person. That's what I see.
Wow. Okay. That was fascinating. Very, very good.
You can do anything.
Since I know the person, I'm
very loving, by the way. Very, very loving. It's all about love, like wanting to give, wanting to love people. Like, I just see so much light and so much brightness and so much love, but also like, oh my God, am I good enough? How am I comparing to other people? Why am I here? Like, nobody really needs me, you know, but this person meant to like give so much light. That's what I see.
How fun. Okay, so if people just heard that and are like, I want mine red, why, do you do this?
Yeah, I do this. So what I do is, actually, it's deeper than this. This is just like little...
Is this numerology, astrology? What are we doing here?
It's numerology together with Carl Jung, who was the co-worker of Sigmund Freud. It's psychology and archetypes and numerology, but not just regular numerology. That just goes so much deeper. But the thing with this, what I will tell you, is most important to look at who does this person want to become, like in their heart. And if they don't know, this particular person needs to try on every single archetype, literally like try on being the hero, try on being the leader or the ruler. And archetypes are not just our subconscious, it's the collective. Because if I ask you to describe a hero and you ask somebody in Africa to describe a hero you've never met, but you will have the same exact like hero, somebody who fights, somebody who looks like this. Like, you're not going to picture a hero with balloons and an ice cream and a little pink tutu skirt. Like, it's a different archetype. And in movies we see that very, very vividly. And we find with this particular girl, she can be anything, so she just needs to try it on and see who she is. If it was more like with some clients, you can see like this person belongs to be like, needs to be a star on stage. Or this person needs to be teaching. Like, I have a client that I talked to this weekend, and I was like, he said he doesn't know what he wants to do. He's in his 70s. And I was like, well, what do you want to do? He's like, well, I kind of want to teach, write a book. And then we looked up his archetype, said, teacher. That's what you're meant to be doing. So you're on track. And then what we do is we create a safe space where we go into our fears and we feel our deepest, darkest fears in a safe space. There's no hypnosis, there's nothing, but you would just create that space where what Joe Dispenza calls surrender. I do it through my system where I actually guide people with the right questions because I see the chart, I know what they're afraid of, and I help them surrender to their biggest fear. So they're like, I'm okay. If my biggest fear comes true, I'm okay. And once their brain notices, I did not die. I felt my deepest fear and I did not die. It's not so scary anymore. And so that part of your mind can now no longer protect you from, oh my God, the great unknown. What am I going to do?
Right.
You go, hey, mind, it's going to be okay. I'll survive. Like that biggest fear is in my imagination. I'm not saying doing something stupid, jumping from without a parachute.
Yeah.
But like if you want to go and call somebody, start a business, go on an audition, you have the fear. What if somebody's going to think that I suck? And then we go into that fear.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks you suck, and you still go and sing.
Yeah.
And then when you break through that by surrendering, then I help my clients to actually take the steps to become who they're meant to be.
Yeah.
And so I have that proven system that we do it step by step so they end up where they want to be.
That is fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
Wow, we're kind of out of time here, but I could talk to you all day. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
So, wow. Okay, I'm just gonna have you tell people how they can find you and reach you and connect with you.
AlinaZ.com,
Okay.
AlinaZ.com, and Life Chef Alina on Instagram, and just shoot me a message. And we set up a time. We do it via Zoom. Everything is recorded so they can look through it. And I have a PDF also, like 11-page PDF printout they can have on their desks. A lot of clients like to have that. They remind themselves to remember who they are, who they're meant to be. Because we forget who we are meant to be. And then,
Wow.
go.
Okay, that's beautiful. So, and it sounds like you can help people with food-related areas, but also purpose and life-related things.
I find that when people come to me with food, it's more about life, and like what people come to with money, you have to uncover what's the deep seed behind the craving for food, behind the craving for clothes or whatnot. And then we teach them, of course, if you have this body type in Ayurvedic medicine, this is what you need to be eating. This is how you break through the fear of eating butter. Because I was more overweight. I wasn't always as cute. But I was so afraid of butter and fat. And now, Michelle, if I don't have like 2 tablespoons of butter in the morning on my bread, like I will actually gain weight. If I have butter and bread in the morning, I'll lose weight. But that's my body type. But I had to learn that. So I teach clients actually how to eat food that's meant for their bodies in their geographic location, because people in Alaska need to be eating differently than people in Florida. So we do everything custom, and then how to break through the fears. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I feel like, hopefully people will understand how all of this comes together in your money life as well as, and of course, finding your purpose. That's huge for just enjoying earning money. I mean, that's a big deal.
When you live your purpose, you can ask for as much money as you want because you know that's what you're meant to do. And people will lovingly give you money because they want it for the service that only you can provide. Because guess what? You were born to do this service.
Right.
And so it works.
And it creates a level of abundance that's different, because not only do you have money in the bank, but living your purpose is abundance in itself.
Exactly.
Money or no money, you're feeling good serving and doing what you do, whatever that might be, if it is meaningful to you.
Exactly.
Then that's currency as well.
Yeah.
So I think we sometimes we just don't define abundance and success at all. I mean, and if you spend the time doing that too, some people require a lot of money. Some people require very little money to, just like you were saying, to be extremely happy.
And by the way, I love money.
Yeah.
I like to go shopping. I did not I do not want to go back to what it was working in the library.
Right.
I'm not saying that was like the best thing ever. We just took what it was and we continued working towards an abundance, but not in a way where that abundance took away our freedom, because freedom was one of our biggest needs, and having bodyguards don't give you freedom. So money is great, but I was thinking of just again Zach the baker. Commodity bread is flour, water, and yeast. And if he can make so much money doing what he loves, anybody can, but they need to do what they love. And, one quick thing I wanted to tell, that for me, when you have your purpose and you know who you're meant to be, you start dressing a certain way. When you dress a certain way, you go in a shop. You don't just going to go, oh my God, look, pretty shoes, and I feel so empty and alone, I'm just going to buy them. First of all, you're no longer empty and alone because you're with yourself. You're living your purpose. And then you look at the shoes and you're like, but I'm already wearing awesome shoes. I don't need another pair. Because you have the courage to wear beautiful things, beautiful for you. It doesn't have to be beautiful for other people. And you don't need to fulfill anything. And so there's so much more peace.
Yeah.
And you save money and you save food without even thinking about it. Like, it just becomes a natural way of life.
Yeah. Ah, that's so good. Okay, well, we've got to wrap up, but I just have loved having you on the show. So thank you, Alina, so much for being here. This was really great. You're a bright light, and I'm sure, the audience can tell that. So, again, they can get a hold of you,
AlinaZ.com.
AlinaZ.com. Okay.
And Life Chef Alina.
Life Chef Alina on Instagram.
Yeah, happy to help.
Are you on TikTok?
I deleted TikTok and then I brought it back. I haven't posted. See, it doesn't bring me joy.
Yeah.
That takes my energy away, and I'm very conscious of it. So I haven't been doing that. I only do things that make me happy, that don't hurt anybody else, that help other people, and that's my vision for everybody. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes other people happy. Doesn't hurt anybody, and don't think about anything else.
Well, that's a beautiful way to end it. Okay. We don't need to say anything else then. So, again, thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I'm in deep gratitude for having you here today. And listeners, okay, so connect with Alina and follow her, because she will, make you feel really alive and really good. And she's right. She's bringing sparkle to people's lives, and that she does. So thank you so much. And loved having you listen to the show. If you like the show, if you think somebody can benefit, please share it and rate and review it. And we would love that. That keeps us rolling here and bringing on great guests like Alina. So thank you so much. And you can reach out to me at limitfreelife.com. And I'd love to hear any of your questions or concerns around money and see how I can help you with that. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.